All right, folks, it's time to get into episode 5 of MODOK, If Bureaucracy Be Thy Death. It's Nigeria alongside Damian G. And this was probably my favorite episode thus far. And we have to start the episode by saying happy birthday to my man, Gary, who is my favorite character on this show.
I was wondering when we were going to get a Gary reappearance, and lo and behold, here he is celebrating his one-arm birthday on his actual birthday.
Yes. And I was like, wait a minute, if they're showing all these new staff members, which I definitely was digging Doris as well, too. All of them, really. Like, there's a lot of things that, like, I relate to my personal life with this episode of, like, work stuff. But, like, I was like, if we're getting all the minions and we don't get Gary, I'm going to be pretty pissed. And then not only do we get Gary, Gary gets his own birthday party, which was like one of my favorite parts of this episode. But this by far was my favorite episode, which makes sense. This is halfway through the season. And I think in good series structure, you always want that middle episode to really take you downhill towards your finale.
Yes.
And this one really did set the tone on a lot of things. But yeah. We start this episode off with the funeral for Meltzer. And it was like, I didn't think we were getting any more of him, but the fact that
either. It caught me off guard seeing Meltzer's funeral, and then all of a sudden the lackeys from the last episode show up at the funeral. And of course, MODOK makes it all about him.
Yes.
And thusly has this revelation that he wants to leave a legacy. So he concocts a plan to kill Iron Man using a black hole. And then corporate hilarity ensues.
Yes. So first of all, the fact that his wife was given a eulogy, I think we all can agree from last episode that she probably had no business being there at this point, at least in that capacity. But I digress. But I do think what was really interesting about the beginning part of this episode is MODOK continues to be selfish and a bad parent. No matter how you look at it. My man legitimately ran, technically, an errand, took his kids to the funeral before dropping them off at school. I'm telling you, if you've never heard of any parent ever doing that before, I'm trying to tell you, there's a bar of like bad parenting. And that used to be one where you would see, you would see like your classmates come in, you're like, why are they skipping first and second period? Like, where were they at? It's like, oh, my mom wanted to, or my dad wanted to do this before they dropped me off. It's like, essentially, like, that's cool because you get them in school. So that's how you know these days. But now as an adult, you're like, yo, that's pretty fucked up.
Because at the very least, when we're a kid and that happens, we get McDonald's or something out of the deal.
Exactly.
Ice cream. They got took it to a funeral. That caught me off guard.
Yeah, and not to mention this talking about, so I can't wait to your dad's funeral. Oh my god, this son is starting to like rise in one of my favorite characters as well too. He's always got these small tidbits that just makes me bust out laughing that you can quickly miss if you're not paying attention. So I really feel that. But yeah, MODOK still is very much has his mindset into still becoming the elite villain that he is, but he has to do so by killing an Avenger, which in this case, his target is Iron Man.
But so the funny part about that is that he had this whole concocted, scheme, and he had this entire plan laid out. And in true fashion to this show, it's blending corporate reality MODOK with his struggle to adapt to it. And it's hilarious because he literally had to go through 14 phases in development, HR to get a 5-minute pitch. And he pitched the most saddest, depressing black hole sun, won't you come reference. And it moved people to tears. And one person even slipped up in the meeting and said, I'm cheating on my wife. I have to go. And that caught me completely off guard. But as the episode continues, in order to get this black hole gun, and then we find out that Monica has never taken a day off in her life because we get a lot of backstory about her, which I loved about this episode because I didn't know a lot about her from the comics, aside from Wikipedia and etc. But seeing her in this realm of why she joined AIM, how she joined AIM, and as the episode continues, we get to know more of their backstory. So they concoct this flim-flam scheme of being able to, one, erase her vacation days, which in corporate America, that's a little weird, but still funny. And then,
Hold on. But like, to be clear, to make this really make sense. She worked for 10 years and never took a day off, and that accumulated to 3 months of leave.
And she looked at it as if it was the worst thing ever to take 3 months off, lounging on a beach and drinking margaritas, which I found hilarious.
It's safe to say that AIM has like really bad employee benefits here. Like
they all die. That's the whole point. They all inevitably die, which is why GRUMBL is giving all these vacation days. Apparently.
Yeah. So yeah, Monica, her ordeal is like, I don't want to take vacation. I need to work. And MODOK's like, well, I need to kill an Avenger. Team up. And I'm like, okay. Cool.
Marvel villain team up. I'm all for it.
Yeah, it's like yeah, we're happy for the team up part. It's like, but these are very, very unorthodox commonalities to come together to say like, let's do this. But hey man, if vacation is really that bad, I would love to work in the same department as Monica, and she can donate all that leave she wants, because that is foolishness. But we all know that she's determined to be the best and top scientist all over the world, and she's really ambitious about her work, to the fact that she made these duplicates of them, these Jello men. What they call them? Did they call them the Juggalos, or did I just make that up in my head?
No, that was at the end where Austin said when they go into mass production, they're gonna be called Giggalos.
Giggalos. There we go. Yeah.
Because they're jiggle men.
Yeah. But I mean, come on now. I was feeling that, because there's a bunch of meetings that I was like, I do not want to go. But if I had my little duplicate me in there to go sit in these stupid meetings, then they go do so. Also, again, I've been teleworking since the pandemic. A lot of us has been home. Some people have been going back into it. But I can tell you that there's one thing that I forgot all about being in the office that this episode reminded me that I do not ever wish to get back to. And that is the teleconference meetings with the one phone in the middle and everybody's talking over each other. And then it's always the one person who's trying to like essentially navigate through it or be the moderators. Like, oh, I think we have a little lag. And then you just keep hearing people like throw different things in there. And the fact that they were doing it, I was like, yo, whoever is writing this really had to get something off their chest on this one. This is a personal episode for somebody too. Not to mention the email. Why I do like Gary and I do like the birthday thing. The whole like mandatory birthday party. I'm trying to tell you, man. Somebody had something super personal with this episode that they said, I know we're trying to tell a Marvel story here, but we're gonna throw a little bit of the things I think that are a little bit funny. And people were like, yeah, it's funny, but also personal. So like I just love the design of this episode. And this is a really big part we gotta talk about at the end. But I also want to ask you a question. When we went back to the roots of Monica back in I mean, at this point now, I'm starting to really feel in the aging thing, because they went back to 2009 and they premised it as being retro with the graphics. I mean, is it really that long ago? 11 years ago? Like 12 years ago? Like,
I feel like a decade makes it retro. Once a decade passed, it makes it retro. And I felt really old when
I hated it.
And
I hated
it. This whole series, you and I have hated the fact that we're like, wait, are we old? And at this point, we're MODOK at this point, like not really understanding, like that was 10 years ago. So you see Monica, who's obviously 10 years younger. MODOK hasn't aged because he's just designed to be that way. And he hasn't aged. And just watching her grow kind of through AIM, and we see what happens as to why she hates MODOK. But at some point in this episode, I was cackling. I have some notes here. Number one, they had a brawl, because at the end of the Flim Flam scheme,
I wasn't gonna bring it up yet, but that's the pinnacle of this episode is the fight, the ultimate, the mad scientist fight.
So inevitably, Monica double crosses MODOK. First, let me go back 2 seconds. The Gigolo men. Did MODOKs not look like SpongeBob a little bit?
Yes, it did. Of course, it did.
A melted SpongeBob. Like that meme of SpongeBob when he makes that meme face. Yeah. I kind of got the feeling that was SpongeBob. So obviously, the plan works. He gets access to the gun. Monica deletes all her vacation days, and then she double crosses him. And Austin, like that thorn in the side, as he's been all season, is out there with her, because she double crosses him. And then a mad scientist fight ensues. And we got it all, man. We got to see Monica in action, having her gauntlets, her electrical gauntlets. They fought all over AIM. There was a 2D battle where they both turned into 2D characters. I felt like I was watching Death Battle, if you remember Screw Attack back in the day. There was a Pokemon battle.
I was just about to say that. Yep. And
with the two Pokemon making love to each other. And then they said, well, should we keep fighting? And she inevitably kills MODOK
and revives
him back to life. She won. That is the most villain thing.
Yeah, top villain mode when she says, I'm not done with you yet, and brings him back. I mean, the animators got their money's worth here.
Oh, hell yeah.
From just that fight scene alone. That fight scene, I'm pretty sure if I look at the time, it probably was only 2 minutes. But it felt like a good 10-minute worth of this episode because it was just really that good. And like I said, the animators got their money's worth, and just us being able to really see these characters go at it in that fashion, in true robot chicken fashion. You know, these are the things that we grew up loving. Seeing it in this capacity was just so dope with characters that we are familiar with. So yeah, like I said, I wasn't gonna bring it up to the very end, but yeah, like that was my absolute icing on the cake of why this episode was so dope, because that fight was super impressive, very entertaining, enjoyable, a good dialogue, good action, animation, all that other stuff, and it just coasted out to the end of the episode, ultimately getting to the point that Austin now has promoted her to the scientist supreme, and the board now values her as the asset and not MODOK. So it's interesting because now we see a little bit of the dynamics change as far as MODOK being the target and him obviously going to fall victim to this because he's just naive like that. To him now, eventually, maybe being able to see this all out and eventually not only get his company back, but maybe kill an Avenger. By the way, who was the Avenger? That's what I was trying to figure out. Who was the Avenger that they
killed?
Yeah, and they said, like, this is a major character. If this had been a movie, this would have been ruined because the major character died in the beginning. I don't know. I had some suspicion, but I don't know. And obviously, you know,
it was made to be left ambiguous.
Exactly. So I definitely asked the folks watching this review, let us know, who do you think it was? Please don't say Iron Man, because Iron Man is obviously alive because he got hit by a water gun or water bottle.
What do you call him, a wet bitch?
Yeah, wet bitch. So like Iron Man is still kicking in the Avengers Tower. I know it's a red helmet with a human skull in it, but he's still alive. Right. So yeah, this is it again. Throw us some suggestions and ideas of who you think it is for who that Avenger that Monica killed that MODOK wants to take.
Which is the reason why she hates him.
Yeah, because he always does that. It's better if everyone thought that I did it. And Monica's tired of not getting her credit. She wants to work till the day she died, and she wants all the credit in doing so. And MODOK seems to be the thorn on her side of that. So
again, he even said it in his little monologue. He goes, "It's such a 2009 thing for me to do is to take your credit for you." And the line of "it's better if it comes from me" is played back for irony during their fight, which I found great. Yeah. But then at the end of the episode, we find out that after, you know, it's thought upon that she's the asset now going forward. So we find out that the corporation is actually a living corporation. So it's a kind of a mutagenic corporate villain, an amalgam of just like a three-headed monster that just happens to be the villain. Because last episode I had said maybe it's Shumagoroth, but no, this looks to be an entirely new villain for this show. Again, playing off corporate culture, scientific corporate culture. And I love the fact that Austin is basically just the tool, because he's a tool. So he's the tool of the corporation to facilitate this. And I honestly think it left me on a cliffhanger, because now I'm like, oh, this is the evil corporation taking life form. So I want to see where this goes. So it kept me engaged the last 5 minutes of this episode. I put down my microphone, I moved over my camera, and I was like a kid watching a Saturday morning cartoon, just like this, just enamored with everything. So I can't wait for the following episodes midway through the season. It's definitely picking up.
That's right. Well, folks, let us know what you thought about this episode. And as always, once you've done this one, step over to episode 6 and check our review out for that here on out until we get to the finale of season 1. So drop in the comments, let us know your thoughts. And as always, stay tuned, because that next review is coming to you right now, folks. Big gold bell.